most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Welcome to the Race Hour podcast in association with Bet365, the home of the position payout. Well, the wait is nearly over. Less than a week from now, the Cheltenham Festival will get underway with the famous Prestbury Park roar greeting the start of the Supreme Novices Hurdle. In this show, we'll be looking at the first 2 days of the festival, with the action taking place on the old course at Cheltenham. I'm Rory Jiwani, with me racing broadcaster Ed Quigley, Bet365 racing PR legend Pat Cooney, and a very warm welcome to bookies.com racing analyst Adam Kenny. Plenty to get through in the next half hour or so. Only one place to start. The first race of the 28, the Supreme Novices Hurdle over 2 miles and half a furlong. Irish Raiders have won 6 of the last 10 renewals. Out of the 4 winners for the home team, 3 have been trained by Nicky Henderson, who's had a total of 5 Supreme winners. Willie Mullins has had 3 winners in the last 10 years. He won it in each of the last 3 years before then, and has 7 Supreme winners in total. Let's go to Pat for the latest odds from Bet365, plus news of any market moves.
Yeah, certainly. Old Park Star is our current 9-4 favourite. Talk the Talk 11-2, Mighty Park 13-2, El Kairos 7, My Daddy Paddy 8, 14-1 bar. And it's been a pretty lively market, really, with the 2 imponderables. Talk the Talk, there were suggestions he might go for another race, and Mighty Park, which one is that going to go for? But as things stand, it seems to be settling down a little bit. Talk the Talk is more likely to go for this race, and Mighty Park move up in trip for the other race. So a lively market. Old Park Star continues to be popular. I was at Kelso on Saturday, and Johnson White had the big race winner there, and he's got Sober Glory in the race, who he said to horses very well, would prefer rain. So more rain the better, but Ed's nearer the track than I am. That seems unlikely at the moment. So a real lively market. Old Park Star, he won't get much shorter, because traditionally race 1, day 1, the bookmakers always take the favourite on, and he'll always start a bigger price than he should be, and we'll all turn around and say, well, we've still got 27 races to get it all back. So Old Park Star, he goes there with a lot of confidence, but it's a deep old race, isn't it? I actually thought Idaho's Son of Harry Fry's might be overrated. The last time we saw this fella run was at Boxing Day at Aintree, and he did beat My Daddy Paddy, and yet he's doubled the price. So he could be one that people might just latch on to. 6 races, 5 wins, and he blew out in the bumper last year, but he didn't run badly. But Old Park Star very, very solid in the market, but he won't get much shorter.
Yeah, I know, Pat and Ed, you've been keen on Sober Glory, but I think, Ed, you're as Pat says, you're a bit nearer the track than we are, and the forecast isn't great for the Hobbs and White runner. My Daddy Paddy is shortened up, despite not having run since that defeat to Idaho's Son. We've got 3 Irish challengers behind Nicky Henderson's favourite Old Park Star. What do you think of the race now, Ed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think essentially there's still the Mighty Park angle, isn't there, in terms of if he did parachute into this, that would really rustle up the market. I mean, he seems to be such a hype horse already. He could even go into near favouritism or beyond, couldn't he? He seems to be the new Faheen and all these kind of quotes on the back of a 38-length maiden hurdle win. But look, my viewpoint's not changed a great deal in the sense of I think Old Park Star is the right favourite at the moment. Interested in regards to Sober Glory. I mean, I was at Chepstow for Sky back in November when he absolutely hacked up, and that was genuine good ground. The times were quick there, and he absolutely pinged off it. So I'm not too worried about the ground per se for Sober Glory. I think it is more the fact he really handles winter ground, whereas perhaps it inconveniences others would be more the kind of angle I would look at for Sober Glory. But his form is pretty good, and I think he's still a very solid each-way player. You could almost apply the same sentiment to Idaho Sun. I kind of agree, looks overpriced for a Grade 1 winner. He flew up the hill into 6th in the Champion Bumper last year. Of course, the Champion Bumper is working out an absolute treat, isn't it? Again, he is another, probably could do with a little bit of juice in the ground. But look, this is a race we know from history. There's been some short prices turned over in this, some classy horses. The best horse doesn't always win. I mean, Q-Car was beaten in this, Sprinter Sacra. I remember Dungwib was a horse you could not lose. Just had to turn up and hand him the trophy. Of course, still people leaving for the exits after Dungwib got turned over in the Supreme. So, yeah, tread carefully. It's only the first race. As Pat says, it's a long old week. But I think Old Park Star, the right favourite. He does look to have that kind of X factor about him. They sent him round Haydock, didn't they, on lively ground, sharp 2 miles, and he pulverised them. So, yeah, he should be tough to beat. But I'm sticking to my guns here. Sober Glory each way. I think he'll bowl along towards the head of affairs, and I'd be disappointed if he wasn't at least there or thereabouts turning into the home straight.
So that's 2 British horses the panel likes so far. Adam, are you going to make it 3?
I am, yeah. It feels really strange given the accent, but yeah, no, like I kind of agree with a lot of what's been said. Idaho Sun is the one that stands out for me. I think he's kind of been overlooked. Certainly looks too big a price based on what he's achieved. There's been a lot of talk about how this race could be an absolute tear up, tons of pace on in the race. If anything, I think that could end up suiting him. He's raced fairly keenly in a few of his races to date. And I actually think if this does turn up into an absolute barn burner up front, he could just find himself actually nicely settled right in behind the pace and in a perfect position to strike. I do agree, Old Park Star does look to be an absolute superstar. But yeah, if we're talking purely about the Supreme in 2026, I think Idaho Sun each way looks like the one for me.
So there we go. That's the Supreme Novices Hurdle. We'll move on to the Arkle Chase, a shade under 2 miles. Looking back over the last 10 years, similar story to the Supreme. 6 Irish winners, 5 of those for Willie Mullins, who has 6 in total. Nicky Henderson's won it 3 times in the last 10 years, 8 wins in total for the Master of 7 Barrows. Pat, let's have the latest odds from Bet365.
Yeah, it's the big 2, isn't it? 11.08 Lulamba, 7.4 Kopek de Borg. Romeo Kule, he's 5-1, easy to back in the market. Every time Gordon Eilet's interviewed, he's always keeps saying he'll be a nice horse over further than 2 miles. But I get the feeling Connections would rather go for the Arkle than move up in trip. Cargesia, Willie Mullins, the mare, she gets £7, of course. She's popular at 6-1, and then it's 14-1 Bard. But really, the story of the last 4 or 5 days has been how strong Kopek de Board has been. It seems as though he's had a couple of away days and he's impressed everybody who's found out which horses are which. But he's jumping well, and lack of experience isn't deemed to be a negative. I think he's had plenty of practice, and he's continued to shorten up in the market. The Lambra, of course, got that very good run at Newbury to his name, but it was the first couple of fences that were a bit ropey, weren't they? And if Kopek does go tearing off in front, the Lambra better keep tabs with him early on in the race. But it's a real big market, this. We've laid both of these at 4-1 to big money, so we're not in a particularly good position here at the moment. But as things stand at the moment, the momentum is definitely with Kopek. I think he must have been working exceptionally well for the money that's flying around for him. But the Lambra, he's another one, isn't he? He's a bit of it'd probably prefer that little bit further, whereas Kopek, you'd imagine, yeah, he's just a tear-away 2-miler. So I do get the vibes that Kopek is very strong in the market. These could easily be joint favourite on the day.
Yeah, Kopek de Board, of course, won the Supreme last year. Upbeat schooling bulletin, and the money's come for him. He hasn't run since November, and that's his only run over fences. I mean, Adam, do you think Kopek's a horse you can back at 6-7-4, 7-4?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubting that he looks absolutely electric. Like everything he's achieved to date suggests he is, like, in a normal running of the Arkle, he'd be head and shoulders above anything else in the field. For me, though, personally, I think this is the easiest race of the week, and I just cannot see Lulamba losing this race. I know it was a couple of sketchy jumps in the Game Spirit last time. That, like, I think what people need to remember is that was in open company. Granted, it was just a grade 2, but that form is miles ahead of anything any other horse in this race has achieved over fences. I mean, if we're looking at effectively kind of a 2-horse market, an impressive Grade 1 novice chase winner, a Grade 2 winner in Open Company against a horse that pretty much has just won an egg and spoon race at Navan, for all that he is an electric horse, I just can't see Lulamba not winning this race.
I mean, Adam, Lulamba's been a bit of a negative for this panel over the weeks because the general feeling has been that he's not quite quick enough. What do you say to that?
Like in a race like this, if there are a few horses that go from the front, which it seems may be the case, I think if anything that just puts more of an emphasis on Lulamba's stamina and the race falls apart. But again, no matter how the race is run, if one gets a soft lead in front, if they go a steady pace, if there's an absolute tear up, I just think Lulamba is miles better than these over fences based on what we've seen so far.
Ed,
yeah,
what do you think?
Depends which side of bed I get out of, basically. Yeah, if I roll to the right or roll to the left. I've been chewing the fat over this for ages. Yeah, it's fascinating. Just listening to all the different viewpoints on it. Yeah, I've no strong view, to be honest with you. That one thing it will be is a small field. I'm kind of got my line at 6.5 runners. It's going to be a small field and it's going to be a shed load of pace on here. I mean, Irish Panther, they're contemplating switching, aren't they, to the Champion Chase? But even him aside, still Ali likes to go forward. Kopek the board, you can only ride him going forward. I think he's a box of frogs. Carjesi, she likes to go forward. Japs Jr. of Lucy Wadhams has gone forward before. I think it's confirmed to line up. So this could be absolute. Let's batash it down to the first fence, couldn't it? I think this will be run at a real clip, and that would be my only negative about Lulamba would be over the first 3 or 4 fences. If he just didn't get his feet organised and made an error and got on the back foot, then the alarm bells could start ringing, because he did look a bit sticky in the early part of the game, Spirit. He did look a little bit sticky in the early part at Sandown, but once he kind of latches back onto the bridle, wow, he kind of powers away Altior-esque, doesn't he? He's that staying 2-miler, and Nicky Henderson's already alluded to it. He's already kind of penciled in the King George and worked back from there next season, he's saying. So that's very much how he sees Lulamba. Kopek is 2 miles, 2 miles, 2 miles, but he's that lack of experience, isn't it? Funny enough, the stats aren't as bad, are they? As you'd lead to believe, on the back of just one chase start. 8 horses have tried to win an Arkle on the back of one chase start this century, and 2 have won. It was Wild Chief in 2004. Western Warhorse, of course, beating Champagne Fever in 2014. So it can be done. And Kopek clearly has a huge amount of ability. But you just wonder whether that battle-hardenedness of Lulamba will serve him in good stead. I'm slightly torn. When they were kind of going 11-4 Kopek and 6-7-4 Lulamba, I thought, yeah, fair enough. But now the prices are contracted too much. They're almost going to probably go off joint favourites, aren't they, in a sense? And you probably then would side with Lulamba. So, yeah, a load of word salad. So I've got no real strong view on it, but I just think it's going to be a great spectacle, and I'll sit back and watch. But Gary Connolly's going to be absolute bag of nerves because, quote, Lulamba has 0 chance of winning this Arkle from having him on the panel. So, yeah, squeaky bum time for him.
Yeah. Anyone got a word for Romeo Coolio? I mean, he was the next. He was the second coming not so long ago, wasn't he, Ed?
I'm not sure. It's his personal conjecture, based on nothing. See, the owners are English, and they are Adam, and they've gone on record to say he will run at the Cheltenham Festival. I get a feeling Gordon Elliott wants to go nowhere near Prestbury Park, wants to wait for the Willowbank at Fairy House over 2.5 and then step him up in trip next season. I think if the old 2.5 mile Grade 1 chaser were here, he'd be 4 to 6 and he'd be running. He was stumped by Kopek in the Supreme last year for all he ran well. I get a feeling there's a big split in the camp, shall we say. It'll probably be a last minute call. I think he may end up running here, but I wouldn't fancy him if he does. I just don't think he's got the requisite gears for 2 miles, personally.
Adam, you think the same about Romeo Coolio?
I agree with every word Ed just said. The old 2.5 mile race would have been absolutely perfect for him. And I think, scrapping that race with the intention of getting him in to either the Arkle or the 3 mile, the 3 miler, making those races better rather than have 3 watered down races done with the best intentions. But yeah, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see Romeo Kildeo at all at Cheltenham.
Okay. We're going to move on to the feature on day one, the champion hurdle, 2 miles and half a furlong. Actually, 5 apiece for Britain and Ireland in the last 10 renewals. 4 winners for Nicky Henderson, whose last one, Constitution Hill. He will be at Cheltenham, but only to parade. Connections opted not to send him back over timber after his win at Southall. Rightly so, I think. Henderson has a record 9 winners in this race. Just 2 winners for Willie Mullins in the last 10 years. He has had 5 champion hurdlers in total. 2 wins for Henry de Bromhead, courtesy of Honeysuckle. And of course, Golden Ace is the defending champion for Jeremy Scott. Pat, this market has seen so many changes over the past couple of months. What's the latest from Bet365?
Well, at current prices, Rory, the new line 15-8, Brighter Days 11-4, Lossie 7-2, Golden Ace 13-2, 9 Ponyross, and I've finally come round to deciding I think the new line will probably win this because I was at Kelso with Dan Skelton and I was saying to him, it's amazing, isn't it? You've got to take on 3 good mares and you're giving them half a stone. I think half a stone's an awful lot. And Dan said to me, I'd rather give those 3 £7 than take on Constitution Hill at Levels. He said, he's not here, they are. I don't mind giving them 7. And I remember thinking, yeah, I suppose you're right, because Golden Ace is the luckiest horse in training. You know, lucky to win a champion hurdle, lucky to win a fight in 5th, so that luck's going to run out. Lossy Mouth, good enough, question mark. Brighter Days Ahead, Cheltenham, question mark. And I just kind of get left with the new line. I haven't thought this way all year, but it just like the alarm bell went off at me on Saturday morning. We're having breakfast with Dad, thinking, yeah, I suppose the new line will win. I think he's a little bit like Arsenal in the Premier League this year. He better win it this year because he won't win it next year.
I mean, you say Golden Ace is a luckiest horse in training. I thought she had the New Line's measure at Newcastle before he fell, personally. New Line was definitely in trouble. And New Line's last run on Cheltenham Trials Day, he'd beaten the Nemean Lion and Brentford Hope by a length and a half. And he was in receipt of £3 from the Nemean Lion. I mean, of course, that race obviously
was a farce,
overshadowed by Sergino suffering a season-ending injury. But okay, the New Lion, yeah, he won the Turners last year, but that's not exactly screaming champion hurdle form, is it, Ed?
It's not in itself, no. I mean, you could make that argument, can't you? He took the length of the straight to go past 2 stayers, really, in the Yellow Clay and Final Demand. He's a shallow hurdle winner. There's very limited evidence at 2 miles to know what he is at 2 miles. Initially, I agreed with you, Rory, when in the fight in 5th, I thought he was in a world of trouble. Having watched that race back a few times, I know if, as I always say, is the most dangerous word in racing, but if he pings that flight of hurdles, I think he's a couple of lengths up on Golden Ace with a bit more up his sleeve, and he would have stayed. So anyway, we'll never know. You could debate that to the cows come home, can't you? But yeah, and the last time out, they crawled round, didn't they, in the race marred by the Sergino incident and turned into a sprint. So yeah, he has got to show he's got gears on drying ground for the old course at Cheltenham. That's something we do not know. But what the phrase I'd probably use, Rory, is I think he's got probably the least question marks to answer compared to a few of the others of them. I mean, namely, will Lossiemouth actually run? Brighter Days Ahead, 2 of her worst performances on ratings both come at this track, including when blowing out in this last year. So that's got to be a massive worry. And then you are around to Golden Ace, of course, who we were speaking about 3 months ago at 16-1, saying, well, she's got 4 legs, she's got this magic spell. When Lorcan Williams just raises the Pro Cush, the magic spell kicks in, and 175 rated horses just seem to just start disappearing or falling or whatever. So look, she's probably going to run a race, but I'm kind of with Pat. I think the new line by default is probably he's also arguably got the most upside. So he's so untapped at 2 miles as well. That is, you can use that as a positive. So I think New Line's right favourite. But my long shot, the one at the bigger prices are stick buys. That Alexi's very interesting here for the Tizzards to try and do the Rooster Booster route of the Greatwood Hurdle into Champion Hurdle glory. Figures he's got a bit to find, but he absolutely hacked up over course and distance in the Greatwood earlier in the season. All that form's working out well. The form of his Ascot defeat where he was a bit unlucky. He's worked out really well again since, and he showed gritty, determined fashion to win the Kingwell Hurdle last time out in ground that really wouldn't have suited him. He's a very strong traveller, so I think the makeup of this race could really suit Alexei. I think he'll be kind of hunted off the pace, and he'd be able to travel into it. And as I said, zany things can happen. I don't think he's a million miles away, put it that way. He's actually rated higher than Golden Ace was when she won last year. So I'm Alexei each way. Again, but I think the New Line on balance is the right favourite.
Yeah, you mentioned Lossiemouth. I mean, we're less than a week away from the Champion Hurdle. It's like it's Groundhog Day again, isn't it? We're still guessing.
It's boring, isn't it? It really is boring, to be honest with you. Like,
every year.
Yeah.
But you've got her, another Willie Mullins inmate, Poniros, last year's Triumph Hurdle winner. I mean, he's fallen out the back of the telly on both runs this season, and he's single figures. I mean, Adam, what do you make of this market, and which horse do you fancy?
Yeah, like again, very similar to what Ed said. Like I think the New Line is probably the safest of them, but I still don't think he's safe. He's not without question marks, and personally, I wouldn't have a huge amount of interest in backing a horse that's shorter than 2-1 just because he has the fewest question marks about him. Looking down the betting, again as Pat said, brighter days ahead. Cheltenham record is off-putting. Lossiemouth probably doesn't even go. Golden Ace, anything could happen. I think potentially if the New Line had pinged the last at Newcastle, he probably would have just run out on the run in or something like that. There are things at play that this universe doesn't understand when Golden Ace is running. But yeah, I just kept going down and down the market. Poniros, as you said, Rory, I couldn't back based on this season. I actually backed Amsterdam a couple of months ago for this because I thought the race was just going to fall apart. If that was a physical bet, I would have ripped it up by now. I just don't see it. And I just kept going and going, and I landed on Cashildale Lad.
Oof.
Purely because one piece of form. I think he got to within 6 lengths or so of Lossiemouth at Christmas. He's 66-1, and genuinely the only reason I can think of to back him is he's 66-1. I wouldn't fancy anything in this race. You obviously don't have to have a bet on every race, even at Cheltenham. But I don't trust anything at the top of the market. I'd rather have a small bet on a massive price and hope for the best.
So, for the Champion Hurdle, a real puzzle. Let's have a look at the other races briefly on day one. All handicaps, the other 4. We've got the Fred Winter, the Ultimate Chase, the Plate, and the National Hunt Challenge Cup over 3 miles and 6 furlongs. Quickly, Pat, any significant money in any of those races and anything you like?
Not really. I think there's lots of people in the Saratoga fan club, aren't there, in the 4-year-old handicap hurdle? But he's been easily found at the head of the market. I think one that we have laid in the last couple of days has been in the Ultima, and that's Handstands of Ben Pauling. And I qualify it by saying Ben absolutely adores this horse, and he's going to go there to the Ultima. He does have a Ryanair option, and why not keep him in there on the subs bench? But looks as though he's going to go for the Ultima. He's his second one back since the Windop, but apparently he's working well. The stable are going well. Ben Pauling absolutely adores him, so I'd imagine he's been popular in the market. There's 2 JP McManuses at the head of the market. You would wonder one of them. They won't probably take won't take each other on. So he's going to be popular. 11, 12, but the ground's not going to be that bad. So he's going to be very much of interest. And one in the National Hunt, the 3 mile 6 to win, Newton Tornado of Rebecca Curtis has been well supported in the last couple of days. And I think Sean Flanagan's been booked for him. That means Sean Bowen must be riding one for Ollie Murphy. We've got an Emmett Mullins horse favourite. So it's going to be a vibrant market, that one. But he'd be an interesting horse as well.
Yeah, Ed, I know you're in the Handstands fan club, and you were nodding your head there. And I think Newton Tornado has definitely come up on the show before as well.
Yeah.
What do you like on day one?
Yeah, Newton Tornado was one of my... Well, I flagged him up. I flagged him and a horse called Lawrence up for this. Unfortunately, he's going to miss the festival through injury. But yeah, Newton Tornado, I think Pat's hitting the nail on the head there. I'm not privy to the information, but I imagine Sean Bowen will probably end up riding Resplendent Grey for Ollie Murphy in the Ultima, in one of the races, or not respectively. But anyway, I think I've seen him, Sean Bowen, penciled in for a ride for Ollie Murphy elsewhere. And in regards to the Ultima, Resplendent Grey could run, Handstands could run. Ben Paulding saying it's kind of 70-30 the Ultima over the Ryanair, but they will leave him in case, Fat the File goes west or something happens and the race really cuts up on the Thursday. And so, but no, I've been saying since the Titanic hit an iceberg that Jaguar needs 3 miles plus, and I'm sticking to it. I slightly disagree with Pat now. I think it sounds like Jaguar and Iroko are both going to run. It seems to be the vibes. Jaguar would need to run in order to qualify for the Grand National over 3 miles. That would be another gate opener for him. See what I'm saying? Sounds like Iroko is going to run as well. And the cynic in me says Iroko is keeping the weights down for Jaguar as well, with the Grand National being Iroko's main aim. So anyway, it's an equine Rubik's Cube, isn't it? But no, I like Jaguar in the Ultima. Handstands, I can see the argument for. He's probably got to prove he properly stays, but he's got one standout piece of form which nothing else can match, and that is beating your Gold Cup favourite Django Bay in the Scilly Isles last year. He's had a wind up, he's had back issues. If he can get back to that sort of form in handicap company, clearly Handstands would have to be a major player. And then, Jaguar in the Ultima, Newton Tornado in the National Hunt Chase. Trying to follow up for last year's winning trainer, Rebecca Curtis. Of course, Haiti Kalor won this race 12 months ago. And I think that horse has got a massive chance. Jumps, gallop, stays, etc., etc. So, Newton Tornado, Jaguar, my two handicappers on the opening day.
Adam, any strong fancies in the handicaps on day one?
Just the one. This is probably the kind of the down period for me in terms of betting on the handicaps. Generally, the prices are largely gone, and at this stage, I'd probably rather just wait until the day, see if I can get a couple extra places. They'll probably be similar enough price as well, and we'll obviously know where the horses are going. The one that stands out for me, I wouldn't usually be a huge follower of trends and things like that, but in the plate, the last 7 winners of the plate had actually won at Cheltenham earlier in that season. So spent a very long time looking through the 6 million entries for it, and I think there are 4 that fit that. Glenguli, Zurich, Blaze the Way are 3. I think they're entered up in multiple races, might not get in, might go elsewhere. But the one I like in that is Donica, who has that form tying in with Jaguar from Cheltenham earlier in January. It's only gone up £4. I think probably as a result of the fact that there wasn't much between them, but they were a mile clear of the third. Things are around about 10, 12 to 1 at the minute. Based on that, the plate trend, he'd be the handicapper for me in day one.
Okay, we're going to move on to day 2, starting off with the Turners Novices Hurdle, 2 miles and 5 furlongs, formerly the RSA, the Neptune. Still a bit of a guessing game for likely runners. We talked about Talk the Talk and Mighty Park earlier. 8 out of the last 10 winners trained in Ireland, 4 for Willie Mullins. Pat, let's have the latest odds from Bet365.
Well, I actually thought this was a wide open race, but you look at the 4 of the last 6 winners have been very short price favourites. 3 of them were odds on. And we've had 2 second favourites, 5 to 2 and 3 to 1. So the class does come to the top in this race on balance. So we've got 2 real hot ones at the top of it all. No Drama this end of Paul Nicholls is 4 to 1. Mighty Park, Mighty Reputation, of course, 9 to 2. And a couple at 5, Skylight Hustle, Talk the Talk, well, he'll probably go under Supreme, we believe. Ballyfad's got his backers, and King Rasco Grey also at single figures. But the key to the race is Mighty Park, as we've all touched on. I mean, he won by 1,000,000 miles on his hurdling debut. No one knew what was behind it, but it was visually very impressive. But nevertheless, that's all we've got. That's all we've got to go on. But the vibes are very, very strong. I've no doubt if he was to run in the Turners, he'll be favourite, because there's just so much talk about the horse. No Drama this end. We like him. He's solid. He's turned up. He's won all 3 races over hurdles in real fine style. He's not run since Newbury 70 odd days ago, but all guns are blazing with him. He goes there with a big chance. But if you like Reputation, and bear in mind this is a big stable now, they know what the time of day is. I have no doubt Mighty Park will go a favourite, but it won't be easy for him over 2 miles 5 against a talented lineup. But as I say, This is a race that you don't normally get shock results in. So I would imagine that look at the top of the market and make your plans from there. But Mighty Park will be favourite, no doubt. No drama this end. He's very solid, but is he brilliant? He might not be brilliant. Mighty Park might be.
Yeah, the panel has been pretty sceptical about no drama this end previously. And Paul Nicholls has never won this race before. But this Irish Challenge doesn't look as strong as it has done in the past. I mean, Mighty Park, yes, what did he beat, as Pat says? I mean, Ed, it does still look pretty open, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. He beat with I think there's one horse in there, Rock Dino, he beat, who the collateral form line, Al Claros, who runs in the Supreme, beat him 3.5 lengths in a cruel, and Mighty Park stuffed him up 40. So if you're using that literally, Mighty Park should be in the Supreme and be 1-4. But yeah, as you say, it's hard to quantify, isn't he? He's the real buzz horse, and he's going to have a huge bearing on the market, whichever market he's declared for, because he's just going to crash by default. So, yeah, well, I won't go through them all, but we've had the no drama this end talk, haven't we, in terms of we've been there before. We've seen this movie before with Hermes Allen, Brave Man's Game, even the mighty Denman won the Challow and got chinned by Nicanor last leg of My Lucky 31. Yeah, I haven't forgiven connections, but anyway, yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? It's I think again, maybe I'm coming about this all wrong. I was asked for a Prestbury Park score the other night. I went 16-12 to Ireland. I think that the home team have got some good chances, and I think there's a couple in here. I think Active Innocence for Nicky Henderson is a little bit of a lurker here. He won very nicely 3 starts ago, beating Sinatra, who's quite popular in the county hurdle market with the Skeltons. Then he was trying to give 20 odd pounds, wasn't he, to Manila Yoga at Newbury last time out. Just found that a bit too much. 2 starts ago, found that a bit too much, and then put in a really nice performance. I thought jumped superbly, really slick when winning the Sydney Banks hurdle at Huntingdon. That looks a pretty solid run. He comes in here, a lot of boxes ticked. I thought he was an interesting each way player, and if he does line up, Ben Pooling's got Taurus Bay. I think it's a fascinating sort of a massive price to hit the frame. He's, of course, the horse who was involved in Holgate on trials day when the drainage system started collapsing in the dark, and they didn't have a print. They couldn't see the printout, and all sorts was going on. But he travelled and jumped like an absolute good thing for 90% of that race. Then it was soft to heavy ground, and his wheels just started spinning, and a petrol light came on inside the closing stages, and he was just essentially, I just thought, outstayed in the hard yards by Cryptic Jim, I believe, heading to the Albert Bartlett. So he'd be interested back on quicker ground. Of course, the yard won it a few years ago with Willoughby Court. I think he's got half a chance each way. He's a really strong traveller and slick jumper. His form falls below a few of the others in here, but then you're getting the price for that, and he's thoroughly unexposed. So if he runs, I'll be with Taurus Bay. But I do think Active Innocence for Nicky Henderson, very solid, hasn't done a lot wrong really, and with lots of question marks, I'd argue there's many question marks about a few of those ahead of them, even whether they'll turn up. Active Innocence definitely runs, and I'll be shocked if he started double figures on the day for 7 Barrows.
Yeah, Adam, anything you like in this race in the Turners?
Not a huge amount that I'd love. I would say I would really, really like No Drama this end to be a top notcher. I think it would be great for Paul Nicholls to have a proper good horse again. But yeah, as said, we've kind of seen this movie before. I think, yeah, if Mighty Park rocks up here, I think he'll take a lot of stopping. I wouldn't usually kind of jump on board a hype train, but I think he could be really, really good. And yeah, just to mention one other at a big price, I think he got a shout at the race hour preview night, which was Shuttle Diplomacy. Not sure if he's going to go here or potentially the Albert Bartlett.
He does run, I believe. Yeah,
it's going in. But yeah, there was a bit of talk there that apparently he's been working pretty well at home. I think he's around 20-25 to 1 at the minute. So yeah, I think Mighty Park will shorten once we, or if we ever know that he's going here. But yeah, Shuttle Diplomacy at a price could be a each way alternative.
On to the Brown Advisory Novices Chase over 3 miles and a furlong. One of my favourite races of the festival. 6 of the last 10 renewals have gone to the home team. Willie Mullins has won 3 out of the last 10. He's won 7 in total. He has won the last 2 as well. Nicky Henderson has had 2 winners in the last 10 years. of this. We discussed this race a few weeks ago, and I think we were all stunned that Final Demand was still favourite after he was soundly beaten at the Dublin Racing Festival. I think that's still the case. Over to you, Pat, for the odds.
Yeah, he is. It's very reminiscent of when with Gaelic Warrior. Remember, he was disastrous at Leopardstown, and no one fancied him, and then he was all the rage on the day when he won at the festival. Yeah, but Final Demand currently 3-1. Romeo Coolio Bingo continues apace. He's second favourite. Cade Dorothy, who beat Final Demand at Leopardstown, they're at 5. The Big Westerner at 5. 8-1 Wendigo for the home team, and 8-1 Western Fold. But Final Demand, he's shortened up, not to big money by any means. I think it'd be interesting if Romeo did turn up. You could argue that he's achieved more. But the one we laid anti-post was the Big Westerner, the mare for Henry de Bromhead. All her form really is on soft and testing ground. So be interesting to see how she goes in the market if we do get a dry week ahead. One we have laid a bit each way is Western Fold, who amazingly is a novice. I think he's had about 25 races over fences. Nothing novice about him. I think he drives the horse box to the races, but he's been popular from an each way angle. Of course, he was noted staying on last time over a shorter trip. He's popular, but it's interesting at the top of the market. Again, you look for who are the really talented horses. The Final Demand version over hurdles is very good. Romeo is very good. They're probably the best place to start, but wait and see really. Final Demand, even before Leopardstown, not everyone was impressed with him. He won at Limerick one day and everyone was, what, really? Favourite? Really? So he's still got a bit to do with him. So this is the kind of race I think we'll all be looking for something each way at a price.
Yeah, Adam. Gary Connolly, who's often on this panel, said Final Demand had a big hole in him, and that looked like that was the case at Leopardstown. I mean, Adam, what do you think of Final Demand and the race as a whole?
Yeah, Final Demand is a very tricky one to weigh up. I mean, I think if he'd gone down by a head that day, it's a solid run. But yeah, just the fact that, is there something physically there? Was it a mental thing? It's not the kind of run I would want a horse coming into Cheltenham on the back of, for me to be getting stuck in. That certainly not a kind of, when it's up there at the top of the market. The one I do like at a price, it's Oscar's brother. Very, very, very unsexy profile. 8-year-old, trained by a small Irish trainer. Obviously, it's in the JP colours. But his last three runs, he's just bounced out in front, jumped for fun. He's one of the few horses in this race that's obviously proven over 3 miles. Most of them are stepping up. I think he looks absolutely rock solid as an each way bet. As I said, probably not the sexiest profile, but if the ground comes up soft, which is probably looking less likely by the day, but if it does, I think he looks rock solid shout to finish in the first 3.
Yeah, you were pretty keen on Wendigo a few weeks ago. He won at Ayr at 5-1 on. Heads the home team challenge. I think the fact Final Demand still heads the market doesn't say too much for the Irish Raiders, does it? I mean, Wendigo, you're probably more keen now, are you?
I really do not follow this market. Seriously, sometimes I could see always an angle why a horse should be X, for example. 3-1 Final Demand. Am I missing something? Are you stumped? It wasn't, as Adam says, it wasn't like he was chinned on the line or, Paul Townend lost his irons or something, and there was you could apply an unlucky asterisk to him. Kay Doherty made him look very pedestrian. Westerfold was ahead of him. On this drying ground, Westerfold's got to come into the equation. I just think this market is all it's very much hype train over substance, personally. Not for me in a month of Sundays at 3-1 Final Demand if he wins. Good luck to him, but you'd be very nervous, wouldn't you, about taking 3-1 about a horse who was royally thumped last time out. I think Wendigo, very solid. 7s each way. Won the John Frankham through stamina. Tight right-handed track on quick ground. Didn't suit at Kempton, but he was motoring at the end. I think he was about a dozen lengths back, turning into the home straight, and was beaten, just over 3 by Kit's Bull, closing at the line with another 100 yards. He'd been right on top of William Mullins' horse, I thought, in the Quarto style novices at Kempton. And then he's had a lovely just pipe opener, jump round as he liked, to win by distance at Ayr last time out. I think he just looks the old-fashioned chasing type. He was unlucky in the Albert Bartlett last season. No, he probably would have won, But Big Westerner nearly brought him down as they turned into the home straight. Obviously, those two will meet again. And he did well to finish fifth, all things considered. So, yeah, I think Wendigo, Jamie Snowden's had a wonderful time of things last couple of years or so. 7-1. I think he's going to be coming up the hill better than others, put it that way, and he's very solid.
Yeah, so that is a Brown advisory. Novices Chase. One more race to look at in depth on day 2 is the big one, the Queen Mother Champion Chase, a shade under 2 miles. Big news from yesterday. Last year's winner, Marie Nationale, ruled out due to a sore neck. Obviously, a big shake-up in the betting. Marie Nationale was the 5th consecutive Irish winner of this race. 4 of the 5 previous renewals went to the home team, with Nicky Henderson winning 3 of them. Willie Mullins, only 2 winners in the last 10 years, both of them courtesy of Energymen. 2022-2023. Pat, bring us up to date with the odds for the Champion Chase.
Well, say hello to an odds-on favourite at this year's festival. Madgeborough now is 5-6 in places. Loda Sud 7-2. Ilete Tomp 5. Quixios, who hasn't run for a year, is 8. Then 20 bar. Madgeborough, I mean, odds on. If you're only as good as your last run, well, then fair enough. But prior to that, we were all cribbing him, saying, look, he can't jump, he can't do this. When he ran at the Cheltenham Festival last year, it was so far so good for the first mile. Then he belted 2 or 3 and he got beat in that. And we were beginning to give up on him, weren't we? And here he is now as our odds-on favourite for a Champion Chase. If you're having a play spot, would you have him as a banker, or would you put 4 or 5 in the race just in case? I'm going to I think I might put the whole field in my play spot in this race, because I still don't know. To have a chance to lay Madgeborough at odds on in a race at the festival, okay, we've got some pretty ropey people in our corner, and they haven't run to the best necessarily. But it just sounds, would you be backing him at odds on? That said, I talked to the fellas in the office. They think he's an absolute good thing. They're saying, well, did you not watch him run at Leopardstown last time out? And I'm like, I did, but I also watched him run the time before and the time before and the time before and the time before at Cheltenham. So odds on, honestly, I think, well, you couldn't bank on him in your play spot, could you?
No, I mean, Quilixios, as you said, hasn't run all season. He's 8-1. John Bond's 10-1. I mean, he looks well past his best. But Adam, can we trust Madgeborough here?
I wouldn't want to. Not at that price. No, I think he could. He's probably the only horse in this race that can win the race by 20 lengths. But I wouldn't want anything to do with him at that sort of price. The only trouble is there's not a huge amount that I would fancy to beat him. I would have been all over Marine Nationale, if not for getting wheeled out here. Again, similar enough to the Champion Hurdle, I looked down through the field at. The problem is I couldn't find a Cashildale lad. I couldn't find anything that I'd want to. I couldn't find anything I'd want to take Madgeborough on. So I think I am probably going to sit tight and hope that Bet365 have a nice super boost on Madgeborough on the day. I think that's the only way I'd be getting involved. I couldn't go near him at odds on, but I couldn't confidently back anything against him, really.
I mean, I couldn't help think that last year's Arkle runner-up, Only by Night, looked overpriced. She finished in front of Madgeborough that day. But Ed, what do you make of this? This looks...
I agree with you on that point, Rory.
Madgeborough odds on, really?
Yeah, I know. A lot to unpack here very quickly. Yeah, Only by Night, if she did parachute into this, she does have an unbelievable one piece of brilliant form. I think we covered this back in the first week of Jan or whatever it was. And the 2 I put up at double figures were Only by Night. And I think Loda Sud was 12-1 then. So that's my anti-post position. I think Loda Sud coming into the home straight will be travelling as well as anything. It'll be what he finds from the back of the last. I think Loda Sud had a better prep than last year. Dan Scouter felt the Kingmaker run on soft ground before the festival just took that 10% out of him. I mean, he was leading with 50 yards to go in the Arkle, wasn't he? So it's a lot of last season's Arkle form is meshed together again here. And If Only by Night did go here and they switcheroo from the Mare's Chase, I don't think she's the daftest of 40-1 bets because she's a class act, should be in receipt of weight. But leads you back to Mashborough, a horse to tear your hair out with, really. I mean, if the cheap pieces work again, and he can do it on faster ground, and he can do it back over fences at Cheltenham, then yes. But there seems to be I'm asking a lot of questions about an 8-11 poke for me personally. Just sit and watch you win. Good luck. If you got the 6-7-1 2 months ago, then you're laughing, aren't you? But they're going to go right old gallop here. It's going to be a 6-runner field. It's going to be small. I'm with Loader Sud. I just think this is 2 times course of distance winner. Thump John Bon 15 lengths in the Schlur. He's been kept fresh for this. I think he'll really serve it up to Maj. Whether he's good enough, we'll find out. But I suppose the sleeper, the forgotten horse in the market is Il Était Tombe, because he fell at Ascot and we've barely heard a thing about him. And he's, by default of having 4 legs and having an entry in it, he's now 9-2 to win a champion chase, isn't he? And I imagine Townend will be on for Willie Mullins, and he's going to have his backers. But I was with Loader Sud 4 months ago. I'm with Loader Sud now. But If Only by Night did line up and did a switcheroo into a 6-runner champion chase, she said her Arkle form from last year entitles her to be going close.
So what else do we have on day 2? There's the Bet MGM Cup, which we'll all still probably know as the Coral Cup, the Cross Country Handicap Chase, the Grand Annual, and of course the day ends with the Champion Bumper. Pat, any significant money for anything on the undercard on day 2?
No real big movers in the race, but what I can say, one of the joys of going up to Kelso, we're all stayed in the same hotel together, it seemed, and I had dinner with Fergal O'Brien, would you believe, on the Friday. Of course, Fergal hasn't had a winner at the Cheltenham Festival, which he doesn't need to be reminded of, but nevertheless, he said that he's got a runner in the Grand Annual on Wednesday called Ryan's Rocket, who was last seen unseating behind Thistleark, the flying machine of Dan Skelton's at Kempton. And they thought he was going very well in running that day. He thinks he's extremely well handicapped. He'd won at Newbury the time before in good style. And he did say that was his best chance of a winner at the festival this time. He's been aimed at the race. He's in all perfect order. So I would have a second look at Ryan's Rocket and hopefully get Fergal off the mark at the festival in the Grand Annual.
Ed, what do you like in the other races on day 2?
Yeah, I have no strong views in the Grand Annual Champion Bumper or cross country as of yet, but I'm 2 versus the field in the MGM Cup. Jinko Blue for Nicky Henderson, very interesting, off 144 over hurdles, considering he's a 151 rated chaser. And of course, he's got some half decent form from last season, as his chase rating suggests. Chased home Cabral du Matin last time out. Should find life a lot easier here back in handicap company. I thought he had a real each way squeak. His, looks very well treated off a mark £7 lower over hurdles. And the other one was the Yellow Clay, who would be fascinating off top weight in this. You get the GB handicap attacks, don't you, from the Irish marks. Now the average, I think it was 3.9 pounds was the average uplift for the hurdlers from the British handicapper to Irish horses. Yellow Clay got 0. He got left on 155. I think that's pretty much got to sway this race over the stayers for the Yellow Clay here. Jack Kennedy could ride, they could claim off him, but he's going to be top weight, but he's got to touch the class. And again, he's got that one outstanding piece of form from course of distance last season where he chased home the New Line, your champion hurdle favourite, with your Brown Advisory favourite, Final Demand in 3rd. So by that logic, in a handicap company at 14-1 or there or thereabouts on drying ground, he's got to come into the mix. So they're 2 horses I think will run big races if they both take their chances in that handicap.
Adam, anything take your fancy on day 2 apart from in the feature races?
As I said earlier, the handicaps, I'll probably keep my powder dry until the day. The one bet that stands out for me in the Champion Bumper is the Mourne Rambler for Noel Mead. Particular angle I generally look for in the Champion Bumper. Again, it's just eliminating a question mark, I guess. So many horses in this race come to Cheltenham on the back of a race. Weak bumper, they made all. I generally like a horse that has shown that it can travel in mid-div, can pass horses kind of go win a race like that. It's exactly what the Morn Rambler did at Leopardstown over Christmas. I think anything Noel made sense to Cheltenham, it's not going over for the few days or for the slightly cheaper Guinness. It's there to win. I think there's talk Colin Keane maybe on board, which would obviously be massive plus. So yeah, Morn Rambler and the Champion Bumper would be my other bet for day 2.
And Adam, while we've got you, because we don't have you for days 3 and 4, what's your bet of the week at the Cheltenham Festival?
Yeah, I actually surprised myself when I was looking at this the other night. For me, it's Haiti Colours in the Gold Cup. Purely, again, similar enough to kind of the Champion Hurdle and indeed the Champion Chase. I've never backed Gaelic Warrior. I probably never will. I'm not sure Django Bay is that good. Galopin des Champs is a legend, but probably just past it. Best of luck if you fancy either of JP's two in the race. They're not for me. I think Haiti Colours could absolutely demon them in this race. Very similar-ish profile to Another Way You're Thinking. Won a Cheltenham handicap last year, comes back this year, probably not seeing us having that strong a chance. But I've reasons to take on most at the top of the betting, and I'm happy to do that with Haiti Colours. The other bet that I like the look of, just check there, is 5-1 at the moment with Bet365. It is GB to win the Prestbury Cup. Purely just looking at the makeup of day 1. I think Nicky Henderson obviously has the favourite in the Supreme. We all fancy Sober Glory or Idaho Sun, so that's one. And kind of gone from there. As I said, I really fancy Lulamba. GB always wins the Ultima. I think the new line is obviously favourite for the Champion Hurdle. I think by the end of day 1, GB could be 5-2, maybe even 6-1 up. I don't think they'll go favourite. I think Ireland probably come roaring back on day 2. But I think you could be setting yourself up in a position to cash out back the other side. It's a bet that stands out to me. GB for the Prestbury Cup.
Love the logic there. Thank you very much, Adam. That's it for part 1 of our Cheltenham Festival preview on the Race Hour podcast in association with Bet365, the home of the position payout. My thanks to Ed Quigley, Adam Kenny, and Pat Cooney for their company. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rory Jiwani. Good luck with your bets, and join us again tomorrow for part 2 of our look ahead to the Cheltenham Festival.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Cordon Star into submission.